Hello, and welcome once again to the Dental Marketing Mastery Series. This podcast is brought to you by New Patients Incorporated and NPIClick.com. I'm Howie Horrocks, the founder of New Patients Incorporated. Along with me once again is my friend and partner and the president of New Patients Incorporated, Mark Dilatush. Hello, everybody. This is Howie Horrocks and Mark Dilatush coming to you once again after quite a long delay. We're going to do a podcast today, and we're glad you're here listening to us. How you doing, Mark?
Good, Howie. How come we were delayed? Was it like the worst pandemic in the history of the earth?
I heard about that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I think it was actually something to do with it.
You're in Vegas. I'm sure the casinos have heard of it too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. What's a casino? I think they closed them all up.
Right.
No, they didn't. So we need to talk about this, don't we? The business and marketing impact in regards to dentistry since this scourge started.
Yes, we do. We need to do this, and we need to do it in order. I'm finding myself having the same conversation, and if this helps 5 dentists, that's great. Okay, so as uncertain, and I know everybody hates that word, uncertain times.
I know. In these trying times.
I know. I want to stab myself in the ear with a pencil every time I say it. But seriously, we got to walk through this in order for the dentist or whoever in the dental practice is listening to this. It matters. We kind of have to walk through this whole thing. So, end of March. Nobody knew what was going to go on. End of March, beginning of April, everybody closed down. Most of us, almost all of us, were pretty much dormant for 8 weeks. Some of us took advantage of, maybe some emergency patient calls or what have you. But for the most part, the whole dental market was closed outside of emergencies.
Right.
So then the states began to open back up, and some states sooner than others, some even locales sooner than others. But over time, around the end of May-ish, June-ish, everybody opened their doors and, oh my God, we have too many patients.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to come in and see us, and we have nobody knew what PPE they needed or what other, procedures they needed to go through. Or are we filtering all our air? Or are we going to make everybody bathe in a UV light? Nobody knew what the hell was going on, right? And plus we had to take their temperature and one person in the waiting room at a time. And I could barely see, half the patients I used to see. And it was kind of crazy.
And no magazines. That's what bugged me.
Yeah. Right. So if this ever happens, the chances of this ever happening again are almost nil in our lifetime. But if this ever happens again, I think it's really important for everyone to understand what we did for our clients. I believe it was maybe March 20th, where I asked for basically all the light switches to go off, turn off all of our client marketing. Even if they didn't ask for it, we just turned it all off because there's no sense in spending that money at that time.
Right.
So we turned it all off, got in touch with our clients, and made payment arrangements that were better and all that stuff, right? And then after the closure, as everybody was coming back in, like people in Texas and Florida were fine. I'm open. Let's go again. Right. But then you had people in California and Oregon, and Seattle, they were basically closed, and they're like, no, or Michigan. No, I'm still closed. So you all remember how that was. You remember it as a dentist. We remember it as a dental marketing firm. Both viewpoints are valid. Okay. You got it. Let's keep moving along with the timeline here. June and July, I bet none of you had an opening, right? Because you were going at half speed and you had twice as many patients to see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were probably booked out for the whole month of July and the whole month of August. In September, probably, you know how dentists call September Sucktember, because usually the first part of September
sucks.
Yeah, usually the first part of September sucks, right? So, but this September, most dentists were like, wow, I love September, right? That was that pent up demand. You missed April and May, and you still had patients who needed to be treated, and you were treating them, even though you were a little held back by the speed. You couldn't see as many patients each day, but you could still see patients. By September, you were probably rolling around to maybe 75% operational speed, 80% maybe. And then all of a sudden October hit and you're like, damn, what happened to my recare schedule?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. I didn't have any patients in April, so I didn't pre-appoint them, right?
Yeah. Right.
So then there's just massive panic, right? Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to lay off all my hygienists. And so nobody laid off, or very few people laid off their hygienists. Everybody made good as best they could. If you listen to our podcast, by the way, we sounded that alarm in August.
I was just going to say that. That was the last time we did a podcast.
I'm going to give us some props. Okay. Yeah. I got yelled at by a couple of hygienists, right? But that's okay.
Yeah.
Go get over it. So anyway, so whether you heeded the alarm or not, October and probably the beginning of November were very sparse in hygiene. And, you know, you get some dentistry for the doctor out of the hygiene schedules. So that kind of went away. Then all your patients that didn't come in April and May and, you know, couldn't be coaxed in October finally realized that their insurance runs out on December 31st. Okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was crazy. So you have all these people who were, oh, yeah, I need to get in. I need to get in. I need to, you know, and then you hear, because we hear dentists, we hear the calls, but we also hear dentists complaining about it. It's like, where were you in October, man?
Yeah.
Like I was here. I was calling you, and now all of a sudden it's the second week in December, and you just have to get in, right?
Yeah.
So dentistry lived through all that, and even in January, there's always every year there's this carryover where we maximize benefits on December 31st, and then start new benefits on January 1st. So there's always some demand that gets consumed first 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in January. So here we are, we're recording this on January 25th, and the goal for this podcast was not to make you go through what you went through last year again, but the goal for this podcast is to actually tell you what's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. All the practices that we can see data from have consumed the pent-up demand. There is no more or very little pent-up demand. We're already hearing it from around the country. Actually, most of them are prospective new clients, but we're hearing, I'm starting to get concerned about new patient flow. Because here's the other thing that happened last year. Because you were so booked up during those many months, very few of you blocked room for new patients.
Right.
So you were busy seeing existing patients, but have very little room for new patients. So coming around now after December with the insurance flip, and then January with the insurance flip, and then now we're at the tail end of January, dentists are looking at their schedule going, man, I was booked out 4 or 5 weeks. Now I'm booked out like just to next week. Right. And they're looking at their new patient numbers from 2020 and they're going 8, 11, 4, right? Not because they couldn't attract them, but because most of their marketing was turned off, and rightfully so. And they were beyond capacity. So even if they marketed,
right, where are they going to put them?
Where are you going to stick them? Right. Because that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
We've already done that like once or twice. I get yelled at for yelling during that podcast. Anyway, So what's coming? If the pent-up demand is gone, what's going to happen here is February and March, you're going to start to see a parachute down in new patient numbers unless you restart whatever was working for you before COVID happened. Okay. Our clients are basically back. I mean, we're like 93% of where we were before COVID. So I'm not talking about our clients. I'm talking about other people who aren't our client, other dental offices who aren't our clients. You guys are going to need to start ramping up like now in February and the beginning of March, because what's coming you're not going to like what's coming in April and May. April and May is going to be a reflection on last April and May when you didn't have anybody in your office and you didn't pre-appoint them. So you may have seen a bunch of them if you did your homework in October and November of this year, but you didn't see all of them. So your hygiene schedule is going to be really, really, really empty. Now you can look at that and you can panic and, yell at the team and do whatever you do. You can do it. You can react that way. But another thing you can do is take this opportunity to set up your schedule properly with the number of openings you need to properly schedule new patients. Back before COVID, see, you always trying to find the silver lining, right? So back before COVID, the excuses we would get when we would recommend pre-painting your schedule in prime time openings for your newest patients, so that your team leaves them open so that you have a place to put a new patient within, let's say, 3 or 4 work days, right? Because if you go past 8 work days, then your marketing return starts to drop.
Right.
So what COVID did is it allowed office managers to go into a schedule and block because there was nobody in hygiene. Okay. They could go in other words, if you bring new patients in through hygiene, if your hygiene schedule is packed and it's very difficult to find 20, for instance, new patient openings during prime time in a packed schedule, it's impossible. COVID opened that up. So if I'm you, doctor or office business personnel, if I'm you now in January 25th, 2021, I'm going out looking at April and May's schedule in hygiene. If you bring new patients through hygiene, or if you can bring new patients through hygiene, I'm going into that schedule and I'm painting 120% of the new patient total you received March of 2020. Or let's use February 2020, because in some cases COVID started at the end of March. So let's just use February 2020. Give you an example. Let's say you had 20 new patients in February 2020. So you need to go find 24 primetime openings in your schedule, starting, let's say, at the end of March through April, through May, heck, go through June, go through July. Paint those primetime openings for your new patients now, while you're still feeling the impact from COVID. This is your opportunity, because if you wait another 6 months, your schedule is going to be packed and you're not going to have any room, and people forget they have lives and they do other things, right? But now's the perfect time. And this is absolutely the time, now that the pent-up demand is all the way through your system, this is definitely the time, doing whatever marketing you were doing before COVID, to start doing it, well, the marketing that was working for you. Start it up again. All right. There was always a time to shut it off. There was always a time to conserve costs or move costs out. That's all behind us. What you're going to see here in March and April and May is you're going to see a slower patient growth in your practice, and you need to prepare for that. Prepare for that now on both ends, on the new patient end, and on the hygiene end. If you don't have a right reactivation program, get one. Sandy Pardue has one. I think Practice Dynamics has one. There's a whole bunch of reactivation programs out there. But anyway, we wanted this podcast today to be about, what happened, what lessons can we learn from what happened. We have kind of a different view in that we actually get to see statistically what happens, and we get to listen, obviously to clients and dentists tell us what happened. So we kind of, in your own world as an individual dentist, you kind of feel just what's happening to you. We get to actually see and report and what happens to, lots of dentists.
Yeah,
right?
we get input from hundreds and hundreds of dentists. So
yeah. So that sometimes that'll help you. And what we see coming is a wonderful opportunity. Right?
Yeah.
Do whatever you were doing before that was working, turn it back on, and prep your empty hygiene schedule. Fill it now. Start filling it now with overdue hygiene patients, but don't fill it too far. Paint your openings for your new patients, because an empty hygiene schedule should give you that opportunity, and then it'll become habit. And then you won't forget. And then all of a sudden, amazingly, you'll end up with more new patients from the same marketing you were doing before COVID ever hit.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
That's it.
Okay.
That's our bulletin for this month.
This first one of 2021, and we'll be doing more of these, and we hope you tune in and check us out again. All right. Thanks for listening. Goodbye now. We hope you've enjoyed our podcast today. You can get all our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, and Libsyn.com, and on our websites newpatientsinc.com and npiclick.com.